So I had
Yeah.
fun.
But you're right about I've done a little bit of plein air painting and I want to do more, but I'm a Southern Coast Jekyll, St. Simons, Brunswick. I'm a marsh
Right.
painter. I love that's what I'm passionate about. But I
Yeah.
do other stuff too, and I'm starting to do other things. Some architecture, buildings, and that kind of thing, and some
Good for
and just
you.
experimenting with different
Uh-huh.
stuff. But and I want to do some plein air painting, but there's not a lot here in Middle Georgia.
Uh,
That it's not this wonderful, Teton Mountains or uh, rivers and streams and
no.
the desert and other things like that, the beautiful sunsets and sunrises and stuff. And it's just what do you have? And it's like, yeah, I could paint buildings downtown in Macon because I love the architecture
I
in
love the
Macon. I mean,
architect.
it's
Oh, isn't
just
it great?
wonderful.
Mhm.
And I've even thought about I was downtown Macon several months ago, and I was just overwhelmed at the number of churches in downtown Macon. As you probably are aware, you got St.
Sure.
Joseph's, and then you got the Baptist church right across the street, and then there's a couple other churches around the corner, and even on
Well, that
Mulberry Street.
Catholic church. I'm not
Yeah,
Catholic, but that Catholic
it's
church.
beautiful,
When
beautiful.
I first came to Macon this time, because I lived here once before, I'd never seen the inside of that,
Oh yeah.
but well, I have a great grandfather who came from Bavaria, and nobody ever knew where he was buried, but his daughter was who was married to my great grand great grandfather that had the men's clothing store in Macon. So she would have been my great grandmother.
Okay.
And they're buried here in Macon in Rose Hill Cemetery. And they were Jewish, so it's in the Jewish section. Well, nobody knew where this great grandfather was buried from
Um,
Bavaria. I found him in the historic old little small Jewish cemetery in Rose Hill Cemetery. And nobody
how
knew.
about
So I
that?
guess after his wife died, he was in Pennsylvania. He must have come down. He had been like the goldsmith and silversmith to the king and queen of Bavaria or something crazy like that. So when I saw the Catholic Church here and those stained glass windows, I'd only seen it from the outside. And there's a historic marker in front of it. And the stained glass artist was from Bavaria. And I went, now, isn't that interesting?
Uh huh.
Catholic Church, and my real father that I said I never knew was Catholic Irish, but I didn't know that side. So when I
How
met my
about that?
cousin in Phoenix and we got to be like sisters, we did genealogy together. So I'd only known my Jewish side. Well, here now I learned all this Catholic side. So I was
Right. Right.
fascinated that there was a
Yeah.
Bavarian artist that did the Catholic Church windows, and here's my Jewish Bavarian great grandfather buried in Roseville Cemetery. But I looked up, and there was it was closed, or it was like 5 or 6 o'clock, and there were some ladies coming out of, I guess they worked in the office
Hmm.
in the parking lot, and I said, "Oh, I'd love to see the inside sometime. I don't, when's an appropriate time?" And said, "Oh, you can go in now. This side door is always open." So I went in there. I was the only person in there, and the organist was practicing for their Christmas music. I videotaped it, and I was in there for 2 hours. I couldn't leave. I sat down, I walked around, I